So I had gotten texted about it this morning, and just kind of saying, like they're doing the press conference and or whatever. They're doing the announcement and this and that, and I think everyone kind of assumed that's what it was. I knew he had some of like the health issues over the last couple months or so, um, and I hate that LSU's not the number one team in the nation right now for this storyline. Like it pains me that a guy whose career was so awesome, and just legendary, that like this is the team that he's going to be retiring after. Not from the team standpoint, or not from the team's sake, but more from just kind of the way the season played out. I wish they were kind of on top of the mountain right now, because that dude deserves that. But that was kind of my first thought, was more like, man, for as awesome as that guy's career has been, I hope we didn't see him play his last game already, or coach his last game already on Tuesday, and I don't think we did. I think they'll play in a regional, but that was kind of my first thought, was like, it's almost a shame that, if that is the end of that guy's career, that he didn't get the big send off on the field. He didn't get all of those moments, because if anybody deserves it, it's him. Yeah, so that's tough. That's really tough. What I would say, where I would say Coach Mainieri has so much value, from a coaching standpoint, is that, so as a baseball coach, right, coaching baseball is important. It's the priority. But really, he was coaching men. He was trying to teach people how to be respectful men, how to succeed in everything in life, and whatever you chose in life. Some of those guys were baseball, but there's a lot of players he coached who are just good dudes who are succeeding at whatever they're in, and this and that. And a lot of it goes back to him. Now, so what I think he was so valuable for was, for a guy who who prioritized like the character of man, he also turned out a lot of really good baseball players. Like, he also put out a lot of major leaguers and a lot of other things, and that's for a guy who was legitimately trying to teach, just the this is how we act as like good people. He was trying to put that back out into the world, but was also so good at the next level of what he was trying to coach, that he was also turning out super talented guys. I mean, you get those guys like Bregman, but I mean, you see what else Bregman does away from the field. Part of that is his character, but a lot of that is also Coach Mainieri's mentoring too. And you could say the same for a lot of other players that he's coached. But I think that's why Coach Mainieri's legacy is so huge, and everyone across baseball in America has a story of Coach Mainieri. He just genuinely is that good of a guy, in my opinion. That's so funny. Um, Not too bad. One time I think we had 11 pitchers on the roster, and I was having a bad day at practice. Nothing mental, just physically. I had just one of those rough stretches where you have a few bad moments in a row, and like I said, I think we had 11 guys on the depth chart right at that moment, and he told me that I was 13th. So, I don't know. I don't know who the other guys were, but apparently I was behind a couple position players too. Yeah, definitely. So I had a rough like week of school. One of the weeks my senior year, we were on our way, or we were about to leave for Arkansas, and I had to pull an all-nighter for an exam. So I stayed up all night, took my test, and then I just slept on the plane ride to Arkansas. Well, I ended up my number ends up getting called during the game, and I did not pitch well. And it was one of those. We had one of those teams where I guess this would have been 15. So we had one of those teams where everybody was kind of pulling on the rope, pitching wise. And so it was kind of one of those things where you couldn't afford to have a bad game, because if you did, you kind of ruined it. You kind of ruined the game for everybody. And so I was just sitting in the dugout after the game, and I was just bummed out, just so upset. I had a rough day at Arkansas, which was not where you want to have a bad game. And I was just sitting there after everyone had walked out of the dugout, and Coach Mainieri walked up to me and he sits down next to me, just the two of us in the dugout, and he says, he said, you had a bad game today. He said, you also had a rough week. He's like, but I'm not giving up on you. And he said, I want you to go home, get some sleep, because you haven't slept in a while. And he said, and I want you to, when you put on your uniform tomorrow, know that I'm probably going to give you another chance tomorrow so that we can get this one out of the way. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever to me. Because I never had a coach that really talked to me in that way, where it was like, hey, I understand that as a pitcher, you're not on your A game every day. What matters is that you're not losing it between the ears, and you know that I'm not losing the confidence in you either. And I just thought that was a really cool moment. That's a story that always stuck with me. Yeah, that, I mean, all of the praise. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Just genuinely all of the praise. That guy, Skip Burtman did all the Skip Burtman things, and everybody knows all the things that he did, and he built this machine. But the way that the machine has been running lately, with there's so much scrutiny, there's so many eyes, there's so much media. All this stuff is a product of the dynasty team. But at the same time, it takes a very special person, and it takes a person who's only like Coach Mainieri, who can still keep all of that stuff controlled. So like this current era is a product of where things were, but Coach Mainieri's ability to juggle all of that and keep it all in control, keep it all balanced, I think that's where he's the best. He was just such a great manager of teams, manager of media, manager of everything, and I think that's what he is. He's the ultimate game manager at the end of the day, and that's where I put him on the list. I put him top above everybody.